You want to boost your business using AI? You're going to want to hear what my guest, Robert Newcombe, founder of AI First, has to share with you today. He's going to talk about the platforms you need, the importance of experimentation, and how you can get the best practices from using AI in your business. Welcome to Mic Drop Insights and Lessons from CI Thought Leaders. My name is Gary Cox. I am your host. I'm also the author of the book, Cultivating Champions of CI, a leader's toolbox for creating a continuous improvement culture. Let's jump into what Robert has to share with us. What about for the AI world? What kind of a channel is this? Like something on a SharePoint? Is this Teams? What is it you're thinking?
It really depends on the organization. I would say it should be something that folks are already using on a consistent basis. So if folks are working together on teams, they have Teams channels or different teams that they're doing work within and having meetings through, then it should just be an addition to that. You don't want to bring in a different platform solely for the reason to talk about and share AI. Even if it is a really cool AI platform, it should be very easy to use and a low barrier of entry as far as what people have already developed habits around. So this could just be like a separate channel or a separate team that's focused on that, but it's a chance for everyone to share how they're using AI. Cool videos or articles or research papers or anything that's of interest that they can just say, oh, that's cool. But instead of keeping that to myself, I'm just going to post to the channel, because you never know who might stumble across that later and say, oh, that's super interesting to the work I'm doing right now, or that's going to add a whole lot of value. And I would have never found that paper or article on my own before. So just kind of a grounds for sharing ideas and information in different articles. And then, someone should be administering that. It should be somebody's role to keep it active and to push people to share there. So there might be a little bit of extra push versus just pull, but also a great idea to share, different use cases and wins. I saved 30 minutes. Ryan Tierney talks about before and after a workspace cleanup or improvement. This is the process before. Take a picture or take a short video, and then this is the improve process and take a video. And there's that internal competition there to see who can do better and how that can be shared. Same thing with AI is, instead of just taking a video with your phone, you just do a screen recording on your laptop, show how quick and easy it is, share that. And really, while it's leading with leadership, it's very much kind of a bottom up upswelling you're going to see here with a lot of folks being able to share and learn from each other.
Yeah, I think it would also be important. You could probably even use AI to assist you in finding what you're putting in, making sense of what's being loaded, right? I'm thinking of when you think of anytime you have masses amount of information, it's always, how do I glean what I need to glean from whatever it is? So probably at the start, you're not going to have a whole lot to have to search through to find something that's interesting. But I'm sure over the course of time, you might have potentially, hundreds or thousands of nuggets of information that people have fed into this, kind of channel. Yep. Would it not make sense to have some sort of AI help you manage that channel?
Yeah.
If you're getting value out of this episode of Mic Drop Insights and Lessons from CI Thought Leaders, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, add your comments. I'd love to hear them.
Well, and that's it. Even if that technology is not built in there today, I imagine if you're using Teams and Copilot, it's going to be there soon. Just type in a question, it's going to find exactly what you're looking for, or maybe even pull like a clip or a quote from that YouTube video that you shared and be able to be very precise with it. So the more data that you have and the more clean that data is, the more value you're going to be able to get from that later. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity with capturing as much as you can now, benefits, use cases, articles, best practices, how it specifically relates to your business, because I think that's a challenge for a lot of folks is, yeah, we see these cool AI videos, but we don't produce videos. So how good is that for us? So try to keep it away from like the social, oh, did you see how cool this AI is? And focus more back to the business and the processes, but there's going to be a lot of opportunity there.
So this is really interesting because in the continuous improvement world, right, when we try to replicate a good business process from, department A into department B, the Department B always has a little bit more resistance because they weren't as involved in the development of the solution or whatever, because Department A
Mhm.
was involved in the solution and the problem and all the change management of getting it in and so on and so forth. And then the company says, okay, now we're going to roll this out. And, Department B is now kind of having a predetermined solution, directed at them, which takes away some of the level of engagement that and buy-in that might happen. I don't see that with AI. I would see that, hey, if somebody else has made this path a lot easier for me, and I don't have to think about all of the different, and I just get the prompt. I don't have to work through all the different versions of prompts to get the prompt I want. That would be really useful to me. Is that
Yeah.
kind of how you see
Well,
it?
and I think even I agree, but I think even building on that is anytime you have some sort of AI solution, it's a lot easier to then customize and build off of that specific for your own business or your own business line, your own process. So it's like, all right, here's the solution that this business unit A had. We're business unit B. This is how we function differently. Now, can we customize this solution? And using AI to help customize the AI solution, then you're going to feel like you're a part of that process of
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
building it
yeah,
for yourselves.
yeah,
And before the challenge is like, that's not cost effective. You already have a good solution. Don't recreate the wheel. But now you can, not recreate the wheel, but customize the wheel just for you and share enough information and be like, okay, you know what? We're 70% of the way there with this solution. Now we've customized it. We can do it quickly and enjoyably. Staff will like to be a part of that process, and then you already have something tailor made just for that group.
yeah. That's really a great way to think about adopting it. And you talked about joyfully. I think, well, how excited I get when we have to write a proposal. So, so it's also being able to
Yeah, I
to,
can
to
I can sense
focus.
the sarcasm there.
Good, good. So it's also about using AI to kind of take away those things that you just really are not excited about having to do as a part of what you have to do. And report writing is often one. I mean, I used to have to write project reports at the end of every project, and it was always, to me, I knew it wasn't waste, but it felt like waste because I wasn't as in thinking what's the value in me writing the report. But proposals, on the other hand, now obviously they're going to lead to work, so you kind of have to feel good about doing those, but they're tedious and so on. AI, the place to go for that.
Oh, yeah, and I totally agree with proposals. Proposals are a means to an end. The value isn't
Right.
within the proposal itself. It's the work that comes after, and it's thinking through your approach and how you would attempt that project. So I understand why proposals are important, but you're right. Like I feel the same way you do. I don't like writing proposals very much. I like it a lot more now is because I use AI to help. And I've come with a very streamlined format which was actually used against me the other day. So I was presenting at the Atlantic Security Conference, and 1,500 people. We had over 200 people in our breakout session, and I talked about how I use AI to generate proposals in less than 20 minutes. And I didn't go any further than that. I didn't show any demos. So then I had a meeting next week, a discovery call with someone that attended that speak that presentation, and they said, oh yeah, can you give us that proposal tomorrow morning? I know you can write these in 20 minutes. So I was like, that's a good point. But yeah, so what I do is, anytime I have a meeting, online meeting, I'll have my AI note taker attend that meeting as well, and we'll talk through what that project might look like or whatever that engagement or presentation or workshop. So we have all of the details saved in that transcript of the meeting. I have a template that I use, and so I've saved that as a custom GPT with very specific instructions. And I upload the meeting transcript. I click a button, and then I have a draft that's, probably 80 to 90% of the way there. Most of these proposals are pretty straightforward. And then I just tweak it, put any mistakes or errors or anything that wasn't talked about in the meeting that's still important, and I can send it off.
Mm,
So what I used to dread was actually like writing through and wording.
yeah.
I'm much more of a shaper and an editor. So if I have a draft in front of me, I have no problem putting my own touches on it. But staring at a blank page or trying to rework an old proposal that didn't have much to do with this current proposal, I find this way just so much easier and smoother and even a higher quality at the end of the day.
Mm. Yeah, I was on a tour of a potential client the other day, and I was thinking to myself, I was taking notes on a traditional piece of paper and pad, and I was thinking to myself, if this was done remotely, we would have been able to record it, but we couldn't. So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Well, and that's it. Like there's so many tools now because now you could use like an AI note taker like Otter AI and just transcribe it and just take verbal notes as you're walking through, just like you might
Mm.
would with any other old school transcriber
Tape
or
recorder. I used
recorder.
to have one of those.
Yeah. So now you just kind of skip that
Micro
step.
cassette, a
Yeah.
micro cassette tape. Too
That's a bit
funny.
of a throwback for you, isn't it now?
Oh, geez, big time, big time.
You see some of that
So,
technology coming back because you have your phone, you can download an app, you can take your notes, and then it can be emailed
yeah,
to you and transcribed and whatever
yeah,
takeaway
yeah.
items. It's pretty slick.
Should start using my phone note taker. That's a good takeaway for me on that one. So obviously taking away the joyless task, setting time aside for, is this for AI specifically or what, when you say set time aside? I know we talk about blocking time in our calendars to do deep thinking tasks and so on. Is that kind of where you're going with that one?
Yeah, it's basically the same premise. And even before AI, we've done a lot of personal productivity sessions and time management. And if you want to get something done, you need to block time for it. Like the
Mhm.
calendar is the source of truth. If it's not in the calendar, at least for me, it's not getting done. And AI, especially those, if you think of Covey's four quadrants there, there's the
Mm.
urgent and important. If it's not urgent but important, which a lot of what AI is right now, you need to set aside time for it. And
Mm.
if you can do that with a level of rigor across the team or the organization that says, you know what, maybe it's one day a quarter that you're doing an AI event, or maybe it's an afternoon every single month or an afternoon every single week, or maybe it's 30 minutes every single day, which is what Tierney talks about in his book.
Yeah.
You do some just improvement, little steps every single day, they add up, 1% better. Whatever you can get away with in your organization, I think like an afternoon or a couple hours every single week when you stop working in the business and you work on the business.
Yeah.
And this should be with an AI lens. So similar what we do in Lean Six Sigma continuous improvement, but now you're just adding another lens or layer on it with where can I use AI and automation to help make my work easier and get out of that day to day, and you need to take a step back from that. So I think there's different levels of it. Like I think you should be doing, at least a couple hours every week, but every month or every couple months or every quarter, take a half day with the organization or a full day with the organization and think deeper, do it off site, someplace a little bit different to think a little differently. Yeah, there's a lot of value in that. Otherwise, if you're not setting time aside for it, it's not going to get done.
Mm. I know Covey talks about that in that quadrant you're talking about is, capacity building or capability building, right? And that really is, you need time to do that. And if you can find time to read a book back in the days, or if you find time to read a book, you know me, I don't read. My pleasure reading is all business books, but I
Yep.
know people that have different styles for reading. But the point is, if you're setting time aside to do those tasks, it's about building your capacity, building your capabilities up in a way that allows you to do better in the future. And I think that's key. I think with continuous improvement and obviously with learning AI, it's not going to come to you unless you take the time to investigate and dive in and play a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Play a little bit. So I think
Well,
that's a really good point.
and there's two components to it. Like you're right. Like, and I didn't really touch on that the first time, but it's the learning and the skills and the knowledge about digging in and using AI.
Well, if you got value out of that conversation I had with Robert, be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, add your comments. Always open and love to hear them. Till next time, my name's Gary Cox. I am your host, and I look forward to seeing you again.